So I'll give you guys the benefit of what we figured out. And I'll try to move through this really quick. And just tell me if I'm going too fast, or tell me if you've had enough and you want him to come up and speak again. Just let me know.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
Once upon a time, there was a area known as Turtle Island, sick. That's what certain people refer to it as. And there was people on the land over here. And this lady or some of her agents came over and met with these people. And they said, look at all these resources you guys have. This is awesome. Can we set up shop and do some business? And these guys went, sure. Because they had no idea what that meant, really. And plus, they didn't really understand the language that much. So there was an agreement put in place. Most of you in the logging industry will know that there's usually a 60-40 agreement. Somebody comes in, logs your bush, right? It's the guy doing the work, and usually the people owning the property get it a cut like that. So what they agreed to do is set up a little store. And I'm not sure if I'm infringing on a copyright here, but we'll just call it a Walmart. So the 60% goes to her organization. She had a corporation that does business. Known as Her Majesty. And Her Majesty had a bank where she borrows money from, known as the Crown. So any money that this little shop made, 60% of it went to Her Majesty, went to Her Majesty's bank, known as the Crown. And they did her books for her. The 40% went to these people, but these people didn't really know what to do with it anyway. They didn't need it. So Her Majesty organized a trustee.
Escrow?
And then these people ended up also banking for these people. How convenient. And this corporation did all right, and then they said, sooner or later, they started up a second, and a third, and a fourth corporation inside the territory. Now, this agreement was in place. These people, or the corporations, exported lots of products and cut down as many trees and killed as many animals as they could, shipped it all over, wherever they wanted to, and 60% went to her bank account, 40% went to here, to this bank account. And the people in here, work in the store, they all wore the blue uniform of Her Majesty, or I guess the red, we'll call it red, sure. And they were all bound by the laws of this corporation, okay? These people were her subjects. They weren't Canadians, they weren't Americans, they were British people. Then around that time, these people started traveling the world and they realized that they could issue passports, and they did. So I'm leaving this very general and very quick, right? But so these people were able to issue passports because they had land, language, and culture, and they were their own nation. These people were subjects of her. Then after a while, these guys got into a little bit of financial trouble, and they merged. Upper Canada was still solvent, Lower Canada. Well, if the one was still solvent, that means the other one wasn't. So they merged these two, and they formed the the province of Canada, and then the Crown renewed the loans to these corporations. And then after a while, they got into more trouble, and then they formed the Dominion of Canada. And then the Crown again renewed her loans to keep this corporation afloat. And of course, 40% every time something leaves here, 40% is going into the trust fund. These people here are still all wearing the Walmart uniform, being owned, the corporation being owned by Her Majesty, sitting on the land, having the right to do business here, and that's it. And these people are still cashing in still accruing their 40% into a trust fund. So then they started again building a railroad across, and that bankrupted this corporation again. And funny thing happened that this corporation's revenue fund got merged with the Indian Trust Fund. And all of a sudden, these guys became a country and could issue passports. But if you want to be a country and issue passports, you need land, language, and culture. Does everybody see what happened? This thing was under a distress sale. The only money was sitting in this trust fund. The trustee of this trust fund said, hey, it's Walmart's 10 cents on the dollar, let's buy some stock. Now all of a sudden, all the people inside here are part of the corporation of Canada. They can issue passports and securities and all that other fun stuff, right? However, this still applies, right? So now the people that are born in here, and I'm going to speak in regards to Ontario because I know those documents a little better, although we have the British Columbia ones here. You'll see them. If somebody, well, you guys will know what they look like more than I will. If some little baby is born in here, that baby, well, because of the marriage contract, the baby is now the property of Her Majesty. This baby gets registered with the Vital Statistics Branch, the Registrar General, the Deputy Registrar, signs this document off and it says, I'm satisfied to the, somebody help me out, accuracy and completeness. Anyway, you look up the words on this, where the Registrar General signs off on this. When you look in that law dictionary, maybe somebody can do this as an exercise later, take a look at what a deed is. A deed must describe the property in full detail and be accurate and complete. This is the deed to this. There's also a law, the trust law, that says where an instrument is executed after July 1st, 1867, the holder thereof is deemed to be the trustee without conveyance of rights or title. Okay, in a nutshell. Something gets signed, the holder thereof is deemed to be the trustee. An instrument in writing that conveys an interest in land from the grantor to the grantee. It's usually used to transfer realty. Its main function is to pass title. And deed of trust, a legal transfer from the trustor to the trustee. Anyway, we'll just skip that for now. It's like, it goes on. So what happened is, this instrument was executed. The holder thereof is whom? How many people have a statement of live birth? How many people have an original? How many people have a certified copy? Ah, where's the original?
That's what I want to know.
Birth certificate, statements of live birth are done under letters patent registration system under common law England under existing royal ancient charter. Common law existing royal ancient charter. She's got the original, she's holding the title to this. For everyone in here. Well, almost everyone. There's a few exceptions in the room. Okay, so she's holding the title to this. How many people have heard her referred to as the Queen Mum?
Yep.
How old is this?
1867?
Usually you'll see that this is registered 2 to 3 days after the baby was born.
Right.
In 100 years from now, how old's the baby?
3 days.
It's still 3 days. It never ages. This document always says it's 3 days old. The Queen Mum is still responsible for all of these babies. Okay? This indicates your share of the Commonwealth of Canada. How many people know Canada's a Commonwealth country? Right? Well, your share of the Commonwealth, if there's 32 million people inside this colony, your share of the Commonwealth is denoted by 1/32 millionth of that value, and that's your share of the Commonwealth held in a foreign jurisdiction. And we need attorneys to go between jurisdictions. That's why the attorneys handle everything for this, because this is over here and this is a different jurisdiction. And that's why we always need attorneys to go back and forth in between the two. Okay, so now the baby is 2 years old. Statement of live birth is over here. Well, let's go back to 2 days old. The statement of live birth is over here. Her Majesty has a really, really hard time looking after all these babies. So what they'll do is they'll go out and hire the person known as mom and the person known as dad, because these guys all have EIN numbers. They're already working for this corporation. They've already got the Walmart uniform. Well, see, I should pick it. They've already got the Canada uniform on. They're already bound by the rules of this corporation. They're already working for this. They get now baby bonus, tax credits, for looking after for this corporation. They've already got the Walmart uniform. Well, see, I should pick it. They've already got the Canada uniform on. They're already bound by the rules of this corporation. They're already working for this. They get now baby bonus, tax credits for looking after the Queen's baby. So now the Queen is looking after this baby by her agent, the parents, and if you do something that the Queen or the Crown, the trustee, doesn't like, what do they do with the children? Take them away. Right. So now this baby grows up, starts wearing a dress, and is now 18. And now, as soon as that baby turns 18, the mom does not get baby bonus anymore because now this baby is old enough to contract and is responsible for its own affairs. Right now, this baby is still deemed to be Her Majesty's ally. It's deemed to be the property of Her Majesty. Okay? When you take a look at this statement of live birth, the wording at the bottom, in Ontario especially, it says, I'm satisfied to the accurateness and completeness and sufficiency of this statement. And what that means is it's to transfer the deed over there, and the sufficiency of it is the absolving of the parents for selling their children into slavery. The Register General has the ability to do that, forgive the parents for selling their children into slavery. So now the Queen Mum is responsible for this, which represents the deed to this. But this is always 2 days old. However, now this has the ability to contract for this. So now this thing is 18 years old and says, well, usually it happens around 14, 15, 16, they try to get a job. So now they want to go back to Canada and say, I want a job. And what does Canada tell them? Where's your social insurance number? We want to know if you're allowed to work for us. I don't have one of those. How do I get one? What do you need to get a social insurance number? Birth certificate. Okay. You want to come into our corporation, a foreign jurisdiction, and work. You're going to have to come in with a surety bond if you want to work for us, so that if you damage anybody inside our corporation, that we're indemnified. So you go out and get the surety bond, then you go back to Canada and you say, look, I got a surety bond. So this thing will have, oops, in Ontario, last first. This thing will have actually, it'll have nothing like that. This will have first name, last name, and it'll describe it all. This thing says name. It doesn't say first name, last name. It says name. That tells you that this is, excuse me, very different than this. And this thing also says name, but it says. So you can tell that these are three different entities. How many people, when they get the birth certificates, it has like who they ship it to and then the birth certificate's underneath? And a lot of times you'll see that one name. So we're going to ship the last first birth certificate to first last. But they know it's the same, you think the same person, but they even describe it differently. But they always ship it to I don't know, 3Z4. They will ship it to an address, a postal code. Now that you have a surety bond, you are now manning the post with a postal address. There's a postal address associated with this birth certificate, who is the trustee of this document. You are now manning the post for the Queen, and they're going to ship the surety bond over to your post so that you can function the post and act as a very good trustee to look after this birth certificate. And you have a residence. How many people have ever been stopped by an officer for speeding? One? Oh. Did they ask you, how many people have been asked where they reside?
Right here.
You don't reside anywhere. So what happened is that you used to be over here on this side. Then you turned 18 and you said, I know what I'll do. I'll go and run my own affairs, and I'm going to man a military post. And if you're going to man a military post, you reside inside Canada, which is an enemy of Her Majesty. This, remember, is... Am I just getting this all messed up? This is over here under common law England. And the Queen has the responsibility to look after this. Mom quit when you were 18. You man this post now. And every time we write a bill of exchange, a check, get a mortgage, anything else, we sign. Because we're manning the post, we have the authority, because we're the ones who ask. We authorize them to extract from here and bring an extract over to the military post, and now we're walking around with a surety bond. And when we sign, where does the credit come from? It comes from your share of the Commonwealth. So what's happening is every time the authorized agent in the residence signs, the credit comes from here, well, through Canada. And if you take a look at the Interpretations Act, Canada is defined as a territorial sea and the navigable waterways. And if you want to know more than the Interpretations Act, go see the Oceans Act. So the Interpretations Act says Canada is the navigable waterways and the territorial sea. Go see the Oceans Act for more detail. The Oceans Act says Canada is a 12-mile strip around the land, and the territory or the navigable waterways, wherever, right? And it also, the Oceans Act tells people how to write speeding tickets for vessels that are derelict. So now you're standing over here in the colony. The credit is over here.
I'm going to have to change the tape. You got it.
Okay, so the Interpretations Act defines Canada as the navigable waterways and the territorial sea. And it says Canada for greater certainty, and it even defines it very clearly. And it says the provinces of Canada are the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. And they have a whole lot of snow up here. And I wonder if the territorial sea would be considered everything that's the snow. Underwater, under Admiralty. So now your military post is over here, and the Queen is trying to get, well, anyway, so whatever happens, you sign, the money comes from here into here, and you go through Canada to do it. And this is why there's a tax on everything. This is what, anyway, that's your part. So what happens is that we have asked for an issue. The Queen says, I'll take care of everybody. The Queen is a defender of the faith. And God said to everyone, well, okay, I'm going to throw religion in here. But anyway, there's a whole lot of people that believe that God looks after everything, whoever that God might be to you. And the Queen is a defender of all faiths, no particular religion. And what happened is that we say, no, we don't trust the Queen and we don't trust God, and we're going to go and do it ourselves. So now we have resided. We're against the Queen. And what happens is the military protects the treasury, and we're on the other side. The military is protecting this side, and we're on this side. We're against the military, and this is why we're an enemy of the state. And this is why I believe when you take this and send it back in here, the military is now there to protect you. And this is why, figuratively speaking, you got the treasurer on one side and the bank on the other. So this is, and this is credit, right? The military is there to protect the private side, the credit. The police are there to protect the corporations and the bars that go between to make sure that everything functions. It doesn't matter where you go, if you have a problem with anybody, post office, licensing, they get jammed up, who's the first one they call is a lawyer, because it's the Crown that runs everything as trustee for this whole corporation for the benefit of these 4 provinces were formed into the Dominion of Canada. The Dominion of Canada created 4 more provinces. Can a fictional government create a territory? No. This land has never been ceded to the Crown that you're standing on. This still belongs to these people, held in trust.
Yeah, I know that.
By these guys, for these guys. There's a bunch of them in this room. If you guys want to say hi.
Do we owe money?
Well, somebody does. You guys, go ahead. You guys want
I had a
to?
quick question here,
Sure.
Burke. Also, with regards to individuals now that sort of awakened some of this, sort of awakened some of this. They're not registering their children. So how does that then, the child is sort of born outside of that corporate entity, a lot of this doesn't actually apply to them then. There's just like, they're just a free individual on the land.
If you don't have a bank card, how are you going to do banking?
Well, people are still doing that, just individuals that have not been registered since birth. And so that when they go into court, it's been seen like they can't see them. They're invisible inside there because they don't
If you don't have a bank card, how are you going to do banking?
create your own bank.
And that's exactly the key. You have to register your child. You can either let Vital Statistics do it, or in Ontario, you can either let Vital Statistics do it, or you can go down to the land registry and do it yourself. And it depends on who's giving up the deed. Are you giving it, or are you giving public notice of it? Are you giving away the deed, or are you giving public notice?
There is no deed. No registration, no deed.
Well, you asked me a question, and the answer was, if you want a bank, go put notice in that there's a vessel here. Don't give the vessel to the Queen, just put notice that there is a vessel. Now you got a bank. Now you can draw funds, because that vessel is registered, not to the Queen, but by the Queen. It's registered to you, having possession of that vessel, and the Queen has been given notice of it. And that's under the Registry Act in Ontario, I don't know.
Down south, we have the District of Columbia, and in Canada, we have British Columbia. Is there any connection between those two Columbias?
I think they sound the same, and they might even be spelled the same.
But no other connection beside that?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked that deep into it. I only spent a few minutes looking at this stuff. I haven't seen that. I think there's a whole secret society reason to that, but I don't know anymore. I was going to suggest that if some of the chiefs that are here wanted to say hello, they're certainly welcome to. I guess that's okay with you.
I just wanted to thank him for this presentation. I think it's enlightening to kind of know some of the facts. We always come in grace for whatever we do, no matter whether it's in Her Majesty's courts for her subjects, which is eloquently explained over here. A lot of you know this particular flag here. What do you call that? Okay, the proper way for the flag is this way. As long as the sun shines and the rivers flow and the green grass grows, the Indians are always my allies as long as they continue to occupy the land. One of my elders is here, can explain it just really briefly so that when you're dealing with issues related to Her Majesty's allies, you are all regarded as her subjects. We are regarded as the allies. And in the Royal Proclamation of 1763, Her Majesty stated that if any of my subjects create any harm to you, my allies, it would just be as if you committed treason against me, and I will send out the military to seek you out upon pain of death. So as a result of that, we don't say that, but that's what we advise the court process when we go into the court. All too often, it's been a learning curve for the justice of the domestic courts of Canada, which are in the filing cabinet. They can only deal with domestic problems related to Canada and all Her Majesty's subjects, the birth certificates, which are in the filing cabinets over here. And the 60-40 agreement, in a nutshell, we're not going to take too much time up with this, but it's important to really know this and what you think is the land of British Columbia. For British Columbia, when they formed the corporation in 1901, here they tried to usurp the authority of the sovereigns given by Queen Anne's Order in Council, identifying that the Indians will forever own the land, and reaffirmed again in the Royal Proclamation again, and then also in 1835. And Naquala, the chief that was given to Naquala up here, was given the Peace Medallion of Treaty of Peace, because we're in grace together, working together in grace, not as adversaries. So Her Majesty bestowed upon my relative here and the hereditary chief for the Okanagan people medallions from 1763, which he still has in his possession, and also this particular flag here, identifying that about what this process actually means in relation to a covenant. And therefore, we don't need a lot of the passports that are required here in relation to passing from one port to another within a corporation. So if I may just take just a few minutes, my relative Sumstula is going to address this because it gets addressed in different areas where Indians are always deemed to be Indians when they're really not. That's a European term. There is no Indians whatsoever. There's only Sukhanagans and there's Wupstachen. That is a European term given when some of the status Indians became status Indians and became subjects of Her Majesty and entered onto the Canadian pirate ship called the Admiralty Court, and by mistake got themselves and became status Indians, and therefore they became a body politic, and therefore forever lost their ability to even exercise any hunting or fishing on the land because they forgot who they were. But the Creator gave all of us equally, the black, the white, the yellow, and the red, this land and Mother Earth to reside on equally together. So for that purpose, I believe that's what we should do with one another, is to respect one another in that way. But every so often, we come forward to remind the corporate bodies for the provinces or the states, excuse me, you overstepped your boundaries. I conditionally accept your presumed jurisdiction upon proof of claim that you do have it, and I hope that you have a covenant that supersedes your queens. And then they're probably in jail for 14 years or forever. So, Klimtula. This information about the law of the flag is really good to know, and that way you call us as your allies because we are relatives. It's just somewhere along the line people forgot that and took a look at body politic to supersede the fact that we are all one in this universe in the eyes of the Almighty Creator we call Small Haggy.
Yeah. Can you guys come this way a little bit? Sure. The reason this is important, just if I can preface this a little bit, when these guys are part of the corporation, they get their status card, they move in through citizenship and immigration. They have to immigrate into the they have to immigrate to the ship. That's why they sit on a ship. I mean, citizenship or something. So this is important because down here the rules are different because there's a commonwealth, or what do you guys call it? There's a country or a nation underneath the fiction.
A bunch of loud people.
Over here, there is nothing under this except for these guys. This is why this is very important to why a lot of things don't work here or work differently here. This is very important for most of you to, you know, so I hope that it's helpful.
Acá pixel quelstum. Acá is nxel holai kapapna la is so heplas is kalkeluchtet. Ala kus kuleut ne aip. Ut kuchtem it's roch kein. Ja is gestaltet. Kom nemt gut als mir kein. Us le apna ko ala gut wil. I just want to let know my brothers and sisters that are in here that I spoke in the language because we are neither history nor we are past. What the very things that we're talking about here today was oral, what we are speaking, because all of these things from the tradition that what we were brought into this land, we were caretakers, and what we speak was a spoken word from that day forth, even though it's called recognized as 1763. We are still here today, and the only difference between the government's jurisdiction and the native people, they are caretakers of this land, and it's based on a covenant. and it's based on a covenant. That's why it makes it sacred, because only banners are given from above, and they are rested upon the shoulders of the people, of the chosen people that are here today and still exist and still speak the language. In all of North America, there are only 2 little reserves, which they call reserves, do not have a treaty, and that is the Okanagan and Shuswap. But they are the key issue to all the other treaties that were there. Because what was given to us was always to be there. Ours was signed, sealed, and delivered. And this flag, right here, spring, summer, winter, and fall. And the blue strips that are there are the rivers and the pureness of her covenant, and the sun. And it's based on that. When the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and the water flows, and the wind blows, and the grass is green, and my children still occupy this land, they are still my children. We are Her Majesty's allies. We are Her Majesty's children. Through assimilation and all of these things that have been there, the governments that was there, a lot of the papers were signed. They forgot that the people that lived here, they were illiterate when they came. Their, what they speak was written, and our language was never written. That's the difference between the written and the unwritten, and it's based on this flag. And this flag has been turned over, has been folded, has been put in a dormant place. It silenced the people. But even though they were signed by the late Pierre Elliott Trudeau and Her Majesty, we are still illiterate. We didn't know how to read or write, so that does not affect us. We are still her children. And all our resources are still there. I hope that what I've said here would put to your hearts instead of up here. Why, Lim Lim.
I just wanted to add just a few points in relation to the power and behind the law of the flag. We have our tribal seal, which supersedes this one because we've always been here. This one just came as a part of the bargain of 1763, affirmed again by Queen Victoria, which my relative Naquala has the medallions all the way back to King George, the Pope, and also Queen Victoria in 1835. So when we deal with the courts in any way, shape, or form for the domestic people of Canada, which was in that part of the matrix zone on the right-hand side of the board that's not there now, because actually it's really not there, but to us, and we walk in with this flag, it's a learning experience even for some of the Masonic judges. But for some of them, they know. So it's at their own peril if they breach this covenant, because it's committing treason against Her Majesty if we are harmed. And therefore, there have been the judges that have bowed before us because of the fact that the Queen already gave them the authority to assist us, and that means the people in the bar are supposed to assist us. That means the police are supposed to be beside us, not arresting our people. And therefore, when they see this flying, they are then to be reminded that the people here have been here forever, and ever and ever, and that the medallions, we still have them, the crown staff, we still have them. And in fact, one of the judges in Washington State about a month or two ago came down from where the judge was sitting down to where the people were, went over to one of our relatives that we got out of the domestic court jails, and he apologized. He said, "I'm really sorry. We haven't seen your people for a long time, for over 250 years. And I've really never heard them speak the spoken word of your people. And we just assumed then that they were persons. We just assumed that you are here captured within our system, and therefore I apologize for that." And he went over and shook her hand and said, "I'm very sorry." And the same thing with the courts around here. The same thing in Kelowna here. One of my relatives was dealing with a tax evasion problem. Well, I'm not going to get into his name, but he chose to be revert back to a person. And therefore, the charges will come back again because he decided not to be part of our people again, or my brother again, and cut off the connection with us. And I'm fine with that. But all I wanted to do is try to help him so that he didn't get caught up in the matrix of the box for taxations and the birth certificate. So the power behind the flag is no different from the United States. Our tribal seals will trump the United States flag as well. And this one will as well. Queen Anne's Order in Council. So it's just part of this learning process. And to give you, thank you, Winston, for giving us this opportunity, because we have helped people, whether they be of the various races of people, and we do it in a humble way, and we try our best to try to help, but we do our best to help our family members as well. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Max, just a quick question. With the flag being reversed like that, it's quite apparent. Now, is that also the same with all the other flags across the corporate of Canada?
This one's only in relation to this one because of the suspension of the dishonor towards us. So we had to raise it back to the way it was when King George gave that to our people, and that was given also in what they call the states of Washington, and therefore all the under what they call captured Indian territories, for the most part, those don't even exist even right now, because of the fact that the United States Corporation was in bankruptcy during most of that Indian Wars period. And that's one of the reasons why when we went in with this flag, that Washington State Court went totally down. And even Washington, D.C. has no authority over us. Not now or ever. Not the Queen, not the UN. So the UN don't come. And when they try to get a hold of me, and I get a hold of the Department of Justice, they give a letter back saying, sorry, Mr. Max 1, there is no geographical area known as Canada. It's only on the map. But, thank you very much. And I accept that and I return it back to him. So what we have here is just part of the covenant that was given to us. But our people tend to live in poverty because they kind of lost their path. And as they awaken spiritually, I believe that everything that our friend is offering here and all our connections that we have has helped us out as well. And I believe it's a spiritual journey as well as one of knowledge is good to have, but I believe it's beyond just the thought of the mind, and it comes from the heart, because when it comes from the heart, then there's no fear, because I know who I am. And therefore we have this covenant with your Queen. And she says that she will uphold the faith and that she will protect us, as long as we're not status Indians, as long as we're not Indian bands, as long as we're not residents, as long as we're not citizens of Canada, because Canada does not exist. It's just a corporation registered in Washington, D.C. And so we know that. So thank you very much.
maybe everybody wants to just get 40% of the money out of your wallet and give it to Max one on the way out.
There's no money, remember?
Does anybody else have any questions? There's one.
Just on this status thing type thing, is that, well, it looks like we all got lost also. Like these guys, they say they lost their journey, but we're born into this weird stuff anyways. So my question is basically, how are you guys getting back? I know it's having a hard time, but you said once you're a status Indian, you're no longer part of the land. But can you actually come back to part of the land and claim it back? And just as we're trying to do now, exactly what we're trying to do. I guess we're trying to be natives of the land also, to be one. And so how do you get, let's say, your people to be one, or to wake them up, or...
I can't do that because I'm not my brother's keeper, but for the most part, for those that are awake in their spiritual walk, they will be there. But it's not for me to tell them or to teach them, because it's them that come to us.
Like-
It could be different people from different walks. Like I've dealt with my relative over here. I didn't know that Burke could speak, right? We call him, but to us and the Okanagan people, he has a tribal name with a tribe taken in and sacred to us. His name is Quiliquin. So, just to us, which means we're speaking to a brother in a living force with the breath residing in. So you have a proper captain in the ship, somebody that can reason, somebody that has a sound mind see.
So theoretically, the Queen would like us all to be allies, right?
Well, the
And-
Treasury loves that.
So this is the goal, I guess, right?
And the issue related
Thanks.
to being lost from the land, I really never got lost. Not ever since I was the little boy. The name on the birth certificate, Marlon Bradford Watts, was given by the Anglican Church, and no disrespect to the churches in any way, shape, or form. That was part of the process in this life journey that I have, because I have nothing negative to say about the church in any way, shape, or form, although certain people have had certain impacts in relation to issues related to abuse of Indians or Native Indians or what you want to call them in your mind. But for me, I'm Max one of Wupstachan, which means white deer of the Kilauea clan. So when we were born then, the church then said, well, I think we should baptize you, get rid of that heathen name called Maxwan, and therefore we're going to give you a good Christian name now, Marlon Bradford Watts, which ended up being a trust. And I have a letter that I found from the tribe in 1836 identifying Indian Affairs sitting at a table with the Anglican Church saying, please put the trust of the Indians, known as the Indians of King Coleth Indian Band, in our hands. So they're asking Indian Affairs for that. So for the most part, if you want to check that out, if you were baptized in any faith of Christianity, there's about 365 of them or so around the world, you're then deemed to be then still bonded through that as well, through that baptismal certificate, not just the birth certificate, and then they'll deem you of not being of sound mind see as well, because you are then deemed to be property then of the Catholic Church or whomever. But I'm not saying that on a negative light. I'm just saying that from a perspective of the fact that that's the way things unfolded, and as we became more awakened in who we are, and I took me 3 years to speak this language that I'm speaking today, and whenever I translate things, and I tend to do that even now, when I'm speaking this language, it comes out backwards when I'm translating from my language. So I finally realized then that on all the plane of the world that the English language is not regarded as sovereign, and I believe that a lot of you know that. So therefore, not one piece of contract in the Ingle or the Angle is regarded as valid. And that's why the two meetings of in the interpretations of the Bar Act identifies the meeting of two attorneys for the purpose of committing fraud. And it's not hidden, right? We're just saying we're going to do it to you, and we just want to see if you're going to figure it out, right? So really, we don't have anybody else to blame, and it's really not a blame game. It's just say, wake up a little bit.
No, I have something else to say.
Else to say.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I just wanted to backtrack a little bit with on the sovereign people who are already here. It's kind of interesting. I actually got invited to go down to see Chief Kanikanit in Regina. He actually asked myself and Karen McDonald, my partner, because we have the clinic in the Quantum Medical Clinic in Saskatoon. He wanted to see what we're about and was quite interested in that. But he relayed a story to me about, I guess, his time when he got put into jail on bogus charges. But while he was in there, he actually got a phone call from the lieutenant colonel of the Marines in the U.S. And he wanted to find out what was going on, because Chief Kanikanit is a 7th-generational hereditary chief, and this blew me away. Now I realize what had happened. I guess the colonel was finding out, well, what's going on, why are you there, blah, blah, blah. And got the whole story and says, well, I guess I have to take care of this. And so the lieutenant colonel actually phoned the government parties, I guess, that were holding Chief Kanikanit, and basically told them that they have 7 days to release the chief, or we'll be there in full force and actually will be taking out the government officials that are holding him. I mean, taking out we're going to kill them. Okay, and I thought, God, is this a story or what? But I guess this is true. Now I understand from discussion here what the impact. It was an international incident that required them to take care of this individual. So that's quite true. Anyway, I just wanted to add that there.
Okay.